Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the panel of students who shared their stories and demonstrated so clearly the brilliance of our nation's HBCUs. The bomb threats facing HBCUs really must be properly contextualized by America's long history of anti-Blackness and white supremacist violence against our community. So I really appreciate the chair, you're holding this space today. Even in the midst of this hearing, we see some who would seek to underestimate and to discredit the ferociousness of these threats. For generations, there have been many seeking to intimidate and terrorize Black folks, and they've intentionally targeted pillars in our communities across the country, from the reoccurring attacks on our Black churches, including the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church that killed 4 little Black girls in 1963 in Alabama, to the predominantly Black churches set ablaze by white men in my home state of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts mere hours after the election victory of President Barack Obama. Along with our churches, our HBCUs have been sources of community pride, the epicenters of Black brilliance, and yes, the constant targets of white supremacists, dating as far back as 1865, when arsonists killed 46 Black people at Lemoyne Owen College in Tennessee, to the 1960s, when Fisk University in North Carolina A&T received numerous bomb threats. The string of deaths in 2022 are not an anomaly, but a chilling chapter in the long and troubling crisis of white supremacist violence. Dr. Cooper, I would like to discuss the implications of this long history of violent intimidation on Black academia specifically. During enslavement, Black folks were lynched for learning to read. During Jim Crow, we fought for equality in education and still do today. Today, our HBCU students are being threatened with bombs. To a hate-fueled few, there is nothing more dangerous than an educated Black person. So could you speak to the reoccurrence of these threats, Dr. Cooper, and what that impact is in generational trauma amongst those in the HBCU community? And what would help prospective students, do you think, feel secure in considering studying at an HBCU in the future, other than our dismantling white supremacy and holding those accountable who commit these egregious acts? But if you could just speak to that generational trauma and what are you hearing from the student body as to what would help them to feel more secure?
Thank you for your question. Certainly, we recognize that the current events have to be considered within the current and historical context of race-based violence. That is, in fact, an unfortunate part of American history. We've seen these types of threats and bombings before in the civil rights era. But at the Department of Education, we do believe that violence and fear does not belong in our educational institutions. We believe that it is the responsibility of each and every one of us to do our part to protect our students. And we also believe that these bomb threats should not be taken lightly. HBCUs, they represent a small part of our higher education system, yet they have an outsized impact and punch above their weight. They enroll about 3% of Black students, yet they are the producers of 40% of the engineers, 50% of the lawyers, and over 70% of the doctors, teachers, and judges. They come from HBCU. So it's very important for us to be responsive to these bomb threats and to take them very seriously, because these institutions have a very important role in contributing to the economic workforce and in the solvency of America and our future.
And so in terms of prospective students or current students, what have they expressed to you in terms of any of their fears and what would allay those fears?
The students are very concerned about the ongoing nature of these threats, and their administrators are being responsive to that in as many ways as they can. And for our part, we are listening to them and doing our best to engage and work alongside of them to be responsive to those needs. So we have made sure that we are providing a resource compendium so that administrators know where they can go in the government to get access to the resources to support their students. And we are allowing for Project Serve grants to be used as last dollar support to help with some outstanding needs that they may have to help restore the learning environment. Students do have strength and they have resiliency, and they believe that they are going to continue, just like their predecessors, to move forward with their education. They do not like the fact that they have to continue to deal with these types of issues, even in this modern context of 2022, but we are moving forward.
Thank you. And I think it's so important that we bring Congresswoman Adams' bill to the floor and support this Ignite bill for HBCUs who have been under-resourced but have been outsized in their contributions for generations. Thank you.
Thank you.